What up, fam? Welcome into the crossover. No KD today. Keon Dooling is out with load management. They just hit me from the sideline. Said, "Hey, tap me in." They said, "Hey, listen, KD, we're managing him tonight. He's got a rest day today. We've got a big game on next Monday. Like, he's gonna be taking a rest." So I look down the bench and I see 1/3 of the face of the Miami Heat sideline broadcast. That is Jeremy Taché, also a good friend of mine, also colleague of mine on the Dan Le Batard show. But right now, Jeremy, we're going to make you what you actually like to be, which is Miami Heat sideline reporter instead of ragdoll punching bag.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, it's good to be here, man. You guys do a great show. I'm really excited to be a part of it. I'm sorry I couldn't be here with KD, but hopefully we could do that sometime soon as well. I can come down to the studio, hang out with you guys. It'd be a great time. But excited to be here to talk some hoops, man. This is a cool time to be talking NBA basketball,
especially Miami Heat basketball. We'll definitely have you in studio. You, KD, me, we'll all chop it up. We got room for 3, so we'll be good later on down the line. Obviously, this Heat team is going to be something we're going to be kind of talking about all year long.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking through the stats and just the box scores of all the games just now before we started recording. And the Miami Heat have more games that they've scored 140 points than they have games less than 100. If I would have told you that to start the season, basically a month and some change into the NBA season, you would have told me what? I
would have asked you what you were smoking. Like, there no way in the world did anyone, outside of literally the people in the locker room, anticipate that the scoring output would be what it is for the Heat. And it's such a fundamental change from what it is that they do. Like, you look back at Wednesday night's loss against the Cavaliers, right? Like, that's their first just bad loss of the season, right? And the reason why is just because of how many possessions the Cavs had. Like, at the end of the day, the offense did sort of sputter at the end of the game, but the reason the Cavs stayed in it was because of this electric pace at which the Heat are playing at. And what it has led to, their weaknesses, before I get to the highlights and the strengths, the weakness is offensive rebounding, especially right now without Bam Adebayo. Like, the Heat, I believe, I saw a stat from Cooper Moorhead that is like, when Bam is on the floor, they would be the third best in the league in terms of preventing offensive rebounds from the opponent. And without him, they are dead last. Wow. Which puts them near the end of the league, near at the bottom of the league overall right now, because he's missed now several games. That's going to be an issue for them all year because of the pace that they play at, which is so different from the teams we've seen in the past, which their pride and joy was mucking it up, playing in the mud, slowing other teams down as well, forcing everybody in the half court. Instead, they are playing with this freewheeling, fast-paced offense that, you got to give Eric Spoelstra, obviously, a ton of credit for looking at his personnel and saying, how do I get the most out of them? And that decision built around, ironically, both Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro's offensive skills, of which we have yet to see Herro, and we have only seen Bam for 2/3 of it. It was, hey, let's run and gun. Let's play with pace. Let's get shots up in the first 6 seconds of the shot clock. Jaime Jaquez Jr. has taken advantage of that. Niko Jovic at times has taken advantage of that. Norman Powell has looked as good as he's ever looked offensively. And it's all ball movement and body movement. It's a lot of backdoor cuts, which guys like Drew Smith and Pelle Larsson do as well as anybody in basketball. It's being willing to give up the ball and make the extra pass. And similar to what you were trying to set up on the Le Batard show of making sure that we were all getting paid for Dan's fines, like, everybody eats. Everybody's getting an opportunity. Right. And it's something that I know these guys are enjoying. And it's, I think, why they were so frustrated with the loss to Cleveland, because the thing that got them in a rut was all of a sudden, for whatever reason, maybe it was an emotional letdown. Hey, big win against a important team in the conference. Now you're
playing that same
guys.
Team again.
You're playing them again. I think they got to the end of that game and just couldn't get themselves out of that headspace rather than stepping on the gas. Maybe later in the year, they'll be better about that. Or maybe they're just going to be a fun team. We'll see how great they can possibly be. But it's a completely different team, and they can score with literally anyone in basketball. And the depth is going to be a huge part of the reason why.
And it's crazy to think that it's an NBA. The NBA is a star-driven league. It's who do you have? How many stars do you have? How can they win in the crunch time? And you look at this Miami Heat roster and you're like, okay, Bam is their kind of spiritual leader and a guy who's like their defensive anchor, but he's not the offensive force that you would want like a main star to be. Tyler hasn't played yet. You bring in Norm Powell, who is a third, fourth option on the Clippers, and all of a sudden he's got more points in Heat history through 6 or 7 games that he's played than
Yeah,
anybody.
now 8 and 9, I believe, as well.
Right. So it's like, where did this guy come from? And it's just weird to see this team who we didn't really have high expectations for. And I want to make sure to not put unfair expectations on them from the first couple of weeks here of the NBA season. Obviously, they're 7-5. Still a lot of feeling out to do with people in and out of the lineup. Obviously, Tyler has yet to make his debut. He should be coming online in the next couple of weeks, probably ramping up.
Could be even sooner than that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
like he and Bam Adebayo are traveling to New York
okay.
for the Friday game against the New York Knicks. I don't know that either of them will play in that game, but the fact that they're not just Bam, but that both of them are traveling at least signifies that there's a chance either one of them could play, both of them could play, neither of them could play. But I mean, this is about the timeline we heard with Tyler.
Right.
Is like
correct.
right around now, mid-November.
Correct. And now we're looking at that and being like, okay, Tyler theoretically would fit really well into what it is that's happening here with Spo's offense, because he's a guy that can create off the dribble, right? It's like the 0.5 second offense. You have to make a decision in the first half second of what it is that you have the ball. Either I'm going to drive, either I'm going to pass, I'm going to cut, I'm going to kick, I'm going to shoot. Something is going to happen. And that constant motion, a lot of like lower tier, right? When you talk about high school basketball, when you talk about college basketball, like the motion offense, quote unquote, 0.5 motion offense has very rarely made it to the NBA because of the fact that it's just such a star-driven league. I'm Kobe Bryant. I'm going to dribble 62 times before the 24-second shot clock is out, and then I'm going to put up a mid-range jumper fading away. I'm going to make it, and okay, I'm going to go down the floor. It just feels like this Heat team is so different from teams in the past that Spo has coached that he's almost seeing it as a challenge of like, oh, you guys thought that I could only coach this way with stars or with great offensive players or with like a Jimmy Butler or a D Wade or whoever. Like, watch me do it with Simone Fontecchio. Watch me do it with guys like Pelle Larsson that you've never heard of. Watch me do it with a guy who was the 5th option for the Clippers last year, who's now an incredible player, Norm Powell. And it's like, it's almost a magnum opus for Spo, more so than like Big 3 era and Jimmy era and D Wade era and all of those things kind of combined, right?
It's funny. I was on Knicks film school yesterday at the time of this recording, and I was speaking with Andrew and saying he was saying how funny it is that Spo has never won Coach of the Year, and this year, if this team overachieves, maybe this is finally the one, because he took this roster that nobody anticipated being great. And then if they're a 4 or 5 seed, even, you know what I mean? Because nobody anticipated all that much. And it's not just you overachieve, but it's overachieving with a completely new structure for your way of going about
almost
doing
a nameless
things.
roster. Almost a nameless roster. Like,
look,
who's on the team?
Bam's going to be a Hall of Famer. Like, if you already look at his resume, like, he is well on his way to being a Hall of Famer. Tyler is an all-star right now. Who knows if he ends up being a multi-time all-star, but coming off an all-star season, Norman Powell sure as hell has an opportunity to be an all-star this year. So it's not entirely nameless. You know, Andrew Wiggins, people know, but there's no bona fide 1A superstar, Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, that type of caliber of give me the ball and I'm going to go win us a game, at least in the minds of everyone who looks at the team. You look at these guys and they think they are that, and that's part of actually that confidence that I think helps this group, because the reason this thing works is because, for that matter, look at what they tried to implement it in Memphis, and you have a guy in Ja who's like, I'm the guy.
They're like, I'm good. I'm not doing
that. It's me. I don't want to do that. You look at this group, and it's a bunch of guys who have been told they're not good enough over and over and over again. They all kind of have that chip on their shoulder. And Like, I'm fully of the belief, and I know, like, Tyler Herro is a polarizing member of the Miami Heat, both nationally and locally. Heat fans themselves are sometimes split on what his impact could be. But if I know anything about Tyler, like, he's going to check the ego at the door. He kind of always has. The only times where he hasn't are when he's trying to say, like, I think I'm going to be great. I think I have an opportunity to be one of those guys. Or, hey, I think I've earned the opportunity to be a starter, but I'll do whatever Spo says. Now you have a guy coming off an all-star season who must be looking at the output Norman Powell has and saying, like, all right, I could do that.
Yeah, right.
Like,
right.
I can go get 30 whenever I feel like it, just because we're moving.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, it's an opportunity to take advantage. And if all these guys continue to kind of check that ego at the door, it opens up a range of possibilities that I think a lot of people didn't anticipate being possible for the Miami Heat this year. And there's nobody better than Bam Adebayo to be the leader of that. He's a guy who's constantly just sort of putting the ego down and saying, like, all right, what's it going to take to win? And it works out for Spo that his anchor, his superstar, his leader really learned right from Udonis Haslem. So
Right.
he gets all of the things that Udonis Haslem taught him about leadership, but with a much better player.
When you look at this team, it's going to be fighting for position kind of in the middle of the pack in the Eastern Conference, right? I think that there's kind of a couple in a weakened East. I think there's a couple teams that are kind of above the fray. Obviously, the Jalen Brunson injury is interesting to me because I saw the last play before he kind of walked off and into the tunnel last night, and I was like, "Ooh, that." Usually, you go to the bench and to go directly into the tunnel into the locker room, like that wasn't good. And the report was he left the game on crutches and in a boot. So like, who knows? That's another engine that drives the New York Knicks. He's probably not going to play on Friday, I'd imagine,
Yeah.
but you look at the East and you're like, okay, Detroit seems to be a legitimate contender in the East. We know Giannis is always going to be kind of hanging around and doing his thing. The Sixers, for as maligned as they are going to be in the mix because
Talent.
Tyrese Maxey is just like incredible right now. VJ Edgecomb's, having a good start to the season and all that. The Miami Heat are in like a weird position of like, they're not going to be a top seed. I don't think they're going to be a play-in team like they have been the last couple of years because of the East and how it's been kind of fluctuating. What is if I were to tell you, all right, they're right now the 5th seed, the 6th seed, somewhere in that area. One, you would say it's a win, but I want you to tell me what would be the downfall for the team.
Like the reason why it wouldn't happen?
The reason why they wouldn't be able to really like contend in the East, even if they've made it kind of in the middle of the pack. Like, what would be the thing you point out and be like, this is the reason? Like, it just wouldn't work.
All right. So I think we have to see how, with the group that, so we've yet to see what their closing lineup is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We've yet to see it play together, right? Because you're going to have Tyler Herro, Norm Powell, Bam Adebayo, probably Andrew Wiggins, and whoever they decide is the 5th person out there with them, whether that's Davion Mitchell, whether that's Pelle Larsson as a kind of multi-pronged connector, whether that's Jaime Jaquez Jr., who's played so well to start the year, whether that's Niko Jovic or Kel'el Ware. Like, we have no idea, but I got to assume those first 4 are on the floor. Can they execute late in close games with that group moving the ball and not just saying, hey, blank, go win us the game, like so many teams in the NBA do? I think personally that having that group that I just mentioned, where any of those guys can hit a shot from pretty much anywhere on the floor, they will be able to execute it. And I actually don't think that will be the issue. I think the bigger thing, like the most glaring concern at the moment, is second chance opportunities. They're, in terms of actual defensive field goal percentage, they're actually kind of right near the top of the league, but they're giving up a ton of points per game, a ton of free throws, and it's all because the other teams are dominating in terms of grabbing offensive rebounds. And when you get to the second half of playoff games against great teams that are going to hit open shots if you give them second chance opportunities, that can be a place where this Heat team just doesn't have enough. Because the weird part is, and I've never been able, not in any outside of the big three era, like during the Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo build, there was not a time where I would have said the sentence, oh, well, this Heat team can score with anybody.
Right.
Like never. Like
Right.
so not how I would have said it. I would have said, no, they can slow anyone down.
They can stick around with anybody.
They can stick around and then late figure out how to win it. And they can muck things up enough to where they'll stay in games. Here, I know they can score. I know they can stick with people. I know they have a bunch of different options. You mentioned Simone Fontecchio. Like that guy, it's really crazy what he's been able to do offensively in limited minutes. They have so many options. We were talking about it at the game, some of the media members yesterday. Like when Tyler Herro comes back, who even leaves the rotation? Because there are so many guys who actually have like really earned minutes. To someone national listening to the show to hear me go like, man, how could you get rid of Drew Smith's minutes?
Right,
they're going to be like, what are you talking about? But Drew Smith has been tremendous defensively in, attacking the other team's ball handler, drawing charges. Pelle Larsson, same thing. Davion Mitchell is a dog, dude.
Yep.
Through 11 games, he was averaging 7.5 assists per game. The only other guys on the Heat who through 11 games have been doing that in the last 20 years are D Wade and LeBron.
Wow.
That's it. Like, and he had been efficient. He wasn't turning the ball over either. That will be the other issue for the Heat, though. Last night, it wasn't just giving up offensive rebounds. They had 21 turnovers. Because when you are playing at this pace with somewhat reckless abandon, if you're not executing the way that you need to, if guys aren't in sync in terms of their backdoor cuts, 4 or 5 of those turnovers were guys getting into the lane thinking somebody was going to be somewhere with a cut, and either the defense cutting it off because they were a second late on the pass, or a guy faking in, coming out, and then all of a sudden there's a miscommunication. And it's a good thing that you're playing at that pace. Even last night when they were awful in the fourth quarter, they had 97 points through 3 quarters.
Right.
Like they were right there. The problem became ultimately it slowed down because the bodies were moving and the energy faded. But to me, the 2 big factors I look at the moment would be, can you not win the rebounding battle, but can you compete in the rebounding battle? And can you stick to more like 12 to 15 turnovers a game as opposed to letting that balloon up to 20?
Yeah, it's almost like in football where you have an aggressive quarterback and you like that because he's going to go out and like make plays, but he's also going to throw a lot of interceptions, like the Jameis Winston, Baker Mayfield mold of I'm going to stretch the field, but I'm also going to throw interceptions. It feels
Absolutely,
like that's kind of
dude.
Something you're just kind of giving up, being like, all right, we're going to turn the ball over, but if we continue to build and stack on more possessions that we score, then turn the ball over, like that kind of math that averages out.
100%. Well, it's also, and to make another football comparison before you get, and I apologize for interrupting there, but
you're good.
It was, we were talking about sort of the simplified offense earlier, and it so deeply reminds me, particularly with the way that Jaime Jaquez Jr. looks like a new player. It so reminds me, and you were saying how like these somewhat elementary offenses, these motion offenses, don't get to the league a lot. It reminds me of when the RPO first started moving from college football into the NFL, where offensive-minded coaches decided, why can't we run a spread offense?
Right.
Why can't we take advantage of the skills that this kid has? Why can't we see this kid in college that's doing this thing? Why would we try to make him fit into our mold? Let's simplify it for him. There's 3 options. You're either going to see this read and hand the ball off to the running back, or once that happens, you're going to roll out and either you're going to run it yourself or you're going to throw it to this one receiver, right? And if you happen to make another play, awesome, but you basically have these 3 options. That basically feels like what Spo just did with Jaime Jaquez Jr. Hey, Jaime, take the ball and run, okay?
Get downhill.
Your first read, and I was talking to Jaime about this, his first read is, if you think you have a lane where you can make the move and get to the hoop and score yourself, that's the first option. Go do it. But as you're running, his actual second option is to take a peek back and see who's trailing. Because both Bam and Khalil Ware and Nico Jovic, all the bigs are pretty capable of shooting threes from the top of the key. So He's looking to see if he can drive. If he can't, he's taking like a peek to see if the trailer is going to be open.
Right, it's
So that
filling
he
in
could
on that
dive,
backside.
throw in his shoulder, and then fill in on the backside and hit a three. And if not, he should have someone in the corner who is either cutting in or is open in that corner. It's that.
It's simple.
Every time he gets the ball, it's that simple when they're on the run. Now, sometimes in the half court, that changes. But basically, every time off of a rebound, it's push. And if he has the ball, that's what he's doing. And it's when you simplify it that much and you can let guys' skill and athleticism take over from there and just give them as many solid options as possible that all have a pretty much equal likelihood of ending in success, you're going to have a lot more success as a team. And so that kind of feels like what has been such a benefit. And that's kind of why I can't wait to see what Tyler Herro looks like in this offense, because simplifying things for him, not having him need every possession to dribble 10, 12 times while he figures out who to call over to set a pick, to try to get by a guy. He's not Steph Curry as a ball handler. He's a solid ball handler, but to not have to play an ISO all the time, to have to do it in some possessions, but it should be something that benefits his game as well. I think we'll have a lot of fun playing in it.
My worry is, as they've transitioned out of the brand of basketball that they used to play in the last couple of years with Jimmy, to now this free dealing, free wheeling. We're going to shoot, we're going to score, we're going to pass, we're going to run up the pace. As the NBA season draws closer to the playoffs, and as teams force other teams, even though that run with pace, force teams to play in the muck and mud, is this Heat team ready to revert back to having to play that way to get W's, right? Because my worry is, okay, you're going to run with pace. We saw the Pacers do it, like we talked about offline. We saw the Pacers do it all of last playoff run, where basically
that's the team. If you're trying to like convince yourself it's good, it's hey, beat the Pacers.
My objection to that would be that Halliburton was so good and really had a massive star turn, especially in the clutch, every single series. When you look back at the Cavs series, the Knicks series, the Bucks series,
it was crazy.
Like every single series, he was making plays late in games that it was like, okay, yes, this is a collective of guys that can all play. Nembhard, Mathurin, McConnell, Siakam, all these different guys, but it was all spearheaded by the one guy who, at the end of the game, he was going to make the shot, he was going to make the pass, he was going to make the play to win the game. And it just feels like the Heat, when that team is stuck in the mud, who's the guy? Is it going to be Tyler that's going to be able to get him out of it and be like, okay, let's put the team on my back. We're stuck in the mud. It's 97-96, with 3 minutes left. Are we going to be able to play that brand of basketball? And that's my worry. Can they go back to what they used to play and still be good at it?
I think it's twofold, right? Is having Tyler Herro or Norman Powell running a pick and roll or coming off a dribble handoff with Bam Adebayo the best play or offensive option that will exist in the NBA in the postseason? No. Like, I don't think they would argue it. That's why they changed their offense. But the flip side of that would be that when it comes down to it, Norman Powell had a career year last year doing a lot of that. Tyler Herro had a career year last year doing a lot of that. Bam Adebayo has spent his entire decorated NBA career doing a lot of that. So while I don't think it's option number one for them, if it comes down to, hey, you've got to make 4 or 5 plays that are oriented around those things you guys had been doing before, because it's not working down the stretch late in the game as things are tight, by moving the ball around and moving bodies around, and we're playing a close game and it's just slower pace and everybody's making shots or getting to the foul line. I do think those players are all capable at a all-star or near all-star level of doing so. So then what it comes down to is, how are you doing on the other end? And if the game is slowing down, and you're looking for, now it's not crazy pace and space, and you've got a Heat team that needs to play half-court defense, well, Bam Adebayo is, to me, the best defender in the world. I guess not named Wemby, just because, I mean, come on.
He
Like,
can
he's
cover
crazy,
the entire
but
floor by himself, right?
right, it's like it's like another category of species, not even human, just like another category of species. To me, Bam Adebayo is the best defender in the world. Then you have Andrew Wiggins, who's been locked down this season defensively. Norman Powell is a solid defender. Davion Mitchell is a great defender. Drew Smith is a very good defender. Pella Larson is a very good defender. Like, this team is capable when the game slows down.
Rim.
Kalel is a bit, and especially if he can grow. As I was watching the game yesterday, I was sort of coming to the realization, and it's a shame to heap any type of expectations or pressure onto a kid who's in his second year, who is so raw. Like, it's not like he played every single minute when he was playing college basketball. Like, he had a kind of strange college career. He had to transfer because it didn't all work the first time around. Like, but this kid's potential, if Kalel can be, by the time you get to the postseason, someone who you don't need him to be scoring 20 points a game.
Right.
If you can rely on Kalel Ware to get you 8 points and 12 rebounds and just not make dumb mistakes, like rookie mistakes, the team ceiling is infinitely higher, because he is a unicorn on this team. There is not anyone else on this roster who can do the things that he can do for them as a shot blocker, as a rebounder. Like, he's been averaging, I think, like 12 or 13 rebounds a game over his last 5.
A 20 rebound game a couple nights ago.
And it was, of all the performances, Jaime Jaquez was incredible down the stretch. Norman Powell had 33 points. Andrew Wiggins ends up with the game-winning dunk, and Jovic makes the pass. I would argue Kalel Ware's performance in that game was the most important performance by anyone on the Heat, because it kept them in the game, because he can go up and get rebounds against a very good front court in Cleveland.
Right. Probably the best front court in the East from a defensive perspective.
Yeah,
from a rebounding perspective between
yes,
Jared
it's
Allen
either it's them or the
Mobley.
Knicks, right? Because Mitchell Robinson, when he gets minutes, is outlandish as a rebounder. He's averaging, I think he's averaging like 18 rebounds per 36 minutes right now. Like, it's great, but he's only playing 15 minutes a game or whatever it is. Right. So it's in spurts. But you're right. In the long term of a game, like Allen and Mobley, that's it. And
they're a massive front court that plays defense and grabs rebounds.
And he forced his ability to do that and out rebound Jared Allen really forced Cleveland to decide, well, you know what? Allen's useless out here. We're going to take him out of the game. He's not going to play in the fourth quarter. And ironically, then he was dominant in the next game on Wednesday. Of course. But I think it's like whatever this team's ceiling is will be lifted exponentially if you can get consistent versions of both Kalel Ware and Niko Jovic. Nico is also like another guy. He'll have a great game and then disappear. And it has nothing to do with either of their work ethics. It just has to do with
the flow of the game.
Yeah, the flow of the game. Can they be lifted up mid-game? Nico even acknowledges himself, and Norman Powell put it into words that, like, Nico's a guy who early in the game, one or two things go wrong and he'll start getting down on himself. And some guys are like that. That's a trait
of younger guys. That's a trait of younger guys too. When
he's 22.
You're not, right. When, damn, I've missed 3 shots in a row. The crowd is kind of murmuring. My coach looks kind of pissed. Like,
we have 11 guys on this team who can play.
Right.
And
right.
Spo's not afraid to sit me. Like, I think that's also part of it. Like, Spo is willing to go, all right, you don't have it tonight. You're not going to play.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, you're moping. You're not going to play.
Exactly.
And I think in the long run that benefits this team and all of these players as individuals who will grow. But what will they be come game 70? And what will the wear and tear of playing at a pace like this do to the roster? Are they going to stay healthy? Are they going to be able to keep up that pace? The hope would be that when you have the type of depth that they do, where I'm talking about arguments over who the 10th and 11th guy are and why they can't lose minutes, that'll be a good thing for you in the long run. That, hey, as you bring Kasparas Jakučionis, your 19-year-old rookie point guard, along throughout the year, maybe he can spell some minutes for some guys to almost quasi load manage to get to the postseason with guys' legs feeling fresh.
And get him experience.
And certainly that part of it, like, and God, it works out for him, man, that he was drafted and now they changed into this offense and not the one they were running before, because this is perfect for him. But I think the big thing, if you're looking at it from a Heat perspective, is like the fact that we're 11, 12 games into the season and having this conversation is a major surprise from where I think most people anticipated them being coming into the year.
100%. And last episode we did kind of teams that surprised us and teams that disappointed us through the first couple of weeks of the season here. And the Heat were on my team of teams that I was really surprised by, because, like I said earlier, they have more games of 140 points than they do less than 100. And it's like, that's not the team we've seen for the last 10 years.
I'm pretty sure thus far this season, I saw a stat, and I might have this wrong, so I apologize, but I think this season, in terms of 140-point games, they had one fewer of those this season than they had from 2018 through last season.
Wow.
Like all of those years combined.
Wow. Yeah, it's
crazy.
fun to be a Heat fan. It's fun to be a Heat fan right now.
And that's the big part. Is like, it's nice to also, like, if you're going to tune into the games on the broadcast network that I work for with the Heat broadcast, if you're going to tune into that, it's nice to know that you're going to tune in and watch something that's really entertaining. Because I really like our broadcast in general, but it's hard, even if you love listening to Eric Reed and John Crotty and watching Jackson Amy and Ron Rothstein and myself, Kelly or Will, like, it doesn't matter. When the team's if the team scores 95 points and loses 107 to 95 and they're shooting 32% from the field and half of that's free throws, it's boring. The fact that you could tune in and on any given night it could be 140 to 138, that's awesome. Like, that's just a lot of fun to watch.
It's what the NBA, you look across the scoreboards now, it's like everything is in the 120s and 130s, when that was like such a rare thing. It would have to take like double overtime for a team to get to the 130s. And now you got 130 with like 6 minutes left. And you're like, wait a second, this guy score 155 points here? Like, what are we doing?
It didn't even feel like the Heat didn't even feel like they were playing that well on Wednesday night. And then I look up and they have 69 points at halftime. And I was like, what?
How? For 140 again.
Like, what do you mean? Like, it's awesome. It's
even
so much fun.
Even the Grizzlies, who are terrible, put up 146 on the Heat.
It's crazy.
And the Grizzlies suck, and John Morant didn't want to play, and it doesn't matter. Like, it's insane.
Right,
the offensive output is insane. But looking really quick across the league,
let's do it.
Let's do this. Let's play GM for a day. Who would you rather be the GM of right now? Would you rather be the new GM of the Dallas Mavericks, or would you rather be the GM for the LA Clippers? You take one side, I'll take the other side, and we'll have a debate and see whose side would make more sense.
Okay.
I'll give you first pick.
I appreciate that, because I think it's an obvious answer who I'd rather be. I'd way rather be the GM of the Mavericks. And that's simple. I'm not Nico Harrison. So no matter what I do, I'm not as hated as Nico Harrison. You're also in a spot where, like, we've laid it out before, but like the Clippers pick is going to Oklahoma City, and I believe Oklahoma City has pick swaps the year after that. Dallas is in a position where they've acquired a pick.
They have this year's pick,
right?
But none of them are theirs until 2030,
right? But because you have this year's pick, it puts you in a perfect position, which is, all right, blow it up. And I think that ultimately that decision was probably already made by the ownership group when they decided to let Nico go. Because I think from a PR perspective, it would be really difficult for them to let Nico make that trade and then have him give up on it by November.
Right.
And have him
basically
be
say,
the one.
I blew it up. Sorry. Didn't
right.
work.
And the flip side, how he could have sold it would have been, I still believe that come playoff time, we could be this, or that, but we have to take advantage of this time in our franchise's history. We are so grateful to have Cooper Flagg, and we want to build something around his timeline. Although I do believe he can contribute to this one. I'm doing what's right for our fan base to have the long-term winner, blah, 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 blah. Now, if you're the new GM, it's, hey, man, that guy really messed things up. We have a franchise star we can build around. We have these assets in Kyrie and in AD that are valuable as much as we love them as players. It's time for us to start this franchise anew, to erase the past of whatever. And you actually do have valuable players there that will help you make up for what is no longer in the cupboard. You have a stud in Cooper Flagg who's young that you can build around, that you can now build the team to his strengths rather than forcing him to play point guard that is not really his strength. Like, he should be a forward that has point guard skills, not a point guard in a forward's body. And so you can go from there. And look, being in the position where AD's value is not what it was a year ago, or several years ago, certainly, Kyrie is going to, I mean, look, he's great and he's coming off an injury, but he's an amazing player that a lot of franchises would be desperate to give you a lot for. And it's not like AD is going to go for nothing. There will be a competitive market for him as well. So I think it's clear that despite the cupboard being bare after that, to have your pick for this year, to know that you could just cut bait, tank right now, build something around Cooper Flagg, who's already a bona fide stud at the center of your franchise. To me, it's like, it's real tough to be the Clippers.
Yeah, it is. And I'm intrigued by the Clippers situation. And I feel like all smart basketball people are like, yeah, this is maybe outside of the Pelicans, probably the worst situation in the NBA. Maybe outside Pelicans. Maybe the Brooklyn situation kind of sucks too. They had 5 first-round picks, spent them all on point guards, and they're terrible. So it's like there's a couple bad situations in the NBA outside of the obvious bottom dwellers of Sacramento.
That's Charlotte. Like the old Minnesota taking Johnny Flynn and Ricky Rubio over Steph when they had all the point guards.
It was a weird situation in Brooklyn, but whatever. The Clippers thing is interesting because I think you have legitimate assets that, yeah, we can't, like, if we blow it up this year, Thunder get possibly a lottery pick, maybe top 5 pick, maybe top 3 pick, maybe number 1.
But it's already gone.
Right. So, and we might get there right now trying, right? Not trying to tank. We might try and actually be one of the worst teams in the league because of injury, because of just the way things broke in the Western Conference. Just because they're 3-8 right now. And it's like Kawhi's out for an unidentified amount of time with a foot sprain and an ankle sprain. Harden has been okay. Like, sure.
Beal's out for the year.
Beal's out for the year with a hip injury. Zubats hasn't been good. And then John Collins is a fine piece. Like, you can get something for John Collins. But you look across the rest of the roster, and it's like they had the oldest roster going into the start of the season, like 30 years old. How do you have a team that's averaged 30 years old?
So crazy.
Like, that's obviously for us, it's not old. And the grand scheme of things is not old. But when you're talking about 82 games, dude, trust me, I feel it. You talk about 82 games plus the playoffs, and especially when they made a deeper run last year than they usually did, you're talking about a big time wear and tear. I would cut bait on Kawhi. You could still get probably multiple firsts for Kawhi from somebody.
For sure.
Harden, I think you can still get probably multiple firsts for Harden. Now, obviously, the salary cap and how pressed are teams against the second apron, willing to take on massive contracts is a big part of it. Of course,
and to build your offenses around these guys, because
they are ball dominant guards.
That's where both forwards. Kyrie and AD are easier to trade for, and that you can give them the ball, but they can set up others, or AD can at least be like a distraction for your young guard, right? Like he can play off of someone. Where if you trade for Harden or Kawhi, you are basically saying like, all right, we're doing this to build something around them,
right? So with that, you have those two pieces. Like, I think Zubats is somebody you can keep long term and kind of be a part of your franchise. But
yeah,
like those two guys, you can go out and get something for them, right? There's still a big market for Kawhi Leonard, for James Harden. John Collins, you can probably get a little something for too.
Like, I think something for Zubats, by the way. Like, if you really want to blow it up, blow it up. You really could, like, because he's had an awful start to the year, but he's a really good player.
Yes,
really good player.
He was arguably one of their best players last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, really good player. And again, big men, like, that's a commodity. So if you are going to do it, like you said, That is the difference. They have more assets
They have
to
more
depart
assets,
with.
but it would take the house take them down to
Burning
the
it,
studs,
yes.
and be like, all right, we're redoing this entire thing. It gets you out of the whole aspiration situation. You trade Kawhi Leonard. You'd be like, hey, look, like this is over. We're taking that next step. We got a new stadium. Like, yeah, is it going to suck for 2 to 3, 4 years? Like, look at the Jazz. They felt like they were competing, and then they just kind of tore it all down again, and now they're trying to get back to it. And it's like this weird situation. But I think I still like the pieces and assets that they have to move things around and not feel like they're in hell. Again, much smarter people than I that understand the cap, that understand the aprons situations will probably tell me that it's not possible. But at least from a fantasy perspective of playing GM, like there's assets there that can be moved. So it's like,
and even if you wanted to keep Kawhi or Harden and like do the quasi tank rebuild and keep someone who's entertaining to your fan base, right? Like, say you wanted to keep James Harden, but you moved on from Zubats and Kawhi and John Collins, and you elevated whatever young pieces you have to play some more minutes, and you just said, hey, James, man, like go do what you want. Go get your numbers. And you add some assets that either would put you in a position to trade for a different disgruntled superstar who was willing to play with James Harden, or put you in the spot to where you could do both the, hey, we're entertaining our fan base and our record doesn't matter because, so if we win, cool, but all of these picks are other people's picks. So we'll try as hard as we can with whatever new young guys we have around James or Kawhi, whichever way you decided to do it, whoever could get you more value and you felt was more valuable to you. And you could kind of do both, which that part's kind of nice. You could basically burn everything except for one superstar.
So the house is on fire, but you go in and get the one superstar.
Yeah, you get the one thing that you need. Yeah, and you bring them out, and because your record doesn't matter, like you go from there. The reason we say, oh, you'd have to trade both like AD and Kyrie to build around Cooper Flag is because like you already have the centerpiece that's a young star. But if you're LA and it's like we can do as much as we can without ripping this thing to shreds in a newish stadium as controversy surrounds us, and like you don't want to totally alienate the wall, right? Like, and so you could find a way to do both. Like as bad of a spot as the GMs of these teams are in, it's crazy how quickly things can change. I mean, look at Miami, right? Like everybody was looking at Miami in January of last year going like, oh my God, they're in hell. Like they're in hell. They're going to have to pay Tyler soon. And Jimmy wants his money, but he's not going to get his. And he's pouting, and they've got Bam locked up, and who else is there? And what are they going to do? And now all of a sudden you look back at the Jimmy Butler trade that just, by the way, was just like, oh my God, get this guy off my team. And what that turned into was a 19-year-old first-round pick and a point guard, Andrew Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, who's your starting point guard, who I pointed out before, a 26 or 27-year-old guy who's averaging like 7.5 assists a game, and Kyle Anderson, who turned into Norm Powell.
Right. So
literally it was Jimmy Butler and Kevin Love for Norman Powell, Andrew Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, and Kasper Siakachonis.
Yeah.
It's like a heist. Like it's not like Jimmy, the best of Jimmy, sure. But even if it's the best of Jimmy, like that's a really good trade. Yeah. And it changed things in terms of how that complements your other stars. And that was all just like yeah, sure. Here, let's get rid of this guy. And oh, sure, we could take advantage of the fact that the Clippers don't want all that money on their books. So things can change so quickly in the NBA, whether it's because of an injury or because of other teams being in cap hell, that as bad as things look today, it could be totally different 6 months from now.
He's Jeremy Taché. You can catch him on the sidelines of the Miami Heat a third of the time.
Yes.
You can also catch
a third of the time.
A third of the time you can catch him on the sidelines for the Miami Heat. You can also catch him a third of the time on the Dan Le Batard Show, usually opposite me. Jeremy, anything else you want to plug? Go follow him at Jeremy Taché on socials also.
Yeah, man, follow me everywhere. If you are listening to this and somehow are like, hey, I have interest through this from November to February in watching a whole bunch of weird, bad baseball trivia, go watch the Pitch Clock on the Le Batard Show YouTube channel. We have our own playlist. And it's fun because our trivia is evergreen. So you can like play along. It's silly and fun. Can't imagine there's a ton of folks who are interested in having that right now as we get into the heat of the NBA season. But go ahead and find it. And Tony, thanks for having me, man. I'll come back next time. I was too, as Dan would say, too wordy about the Heat. So as a result,
well, it was a Heat-centric episode.
Yeah, but we didn't even get a chance to dive into Niko Jokic and just how ridiculous he is. So next time we'll do some of that. And yeah, I'm on the Heat broadcast. I don't know when this is dropping, but I'm on Monday against the Knicks.
Today, it'll drop today.
Okay, great. So Monday's broadcast against the New York Knicks, I will be there as a sideline reporter, and then I'll be back. My next game will be, I believe, December 6th against the Kings. So just keep tuning in to the Heat broadcasts and enjoy all those, everybody.
Let's go. Make sure you rate, subscribe, review to all of our stuff. Follow us at The Crossover on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out there. Me and KD will be back next week to chop it up about the NBA. So thank you to Jeremy. Thank you to everybody listening. I'll see you guys later. Peace.